Insert me. So we're doing something a little bit different with this episode. We're gonna make some concept art for a product. Jazza actually approached me to help him generate some designs for a product that he wants to produce. So we wanna show you the process of an artist working towards a client's vision and producing a product that fulfills their requirements.
And I have a great vision, Morgan.
Hi, I'm Jazza, CEO and founder of Space Bears Incorporated. And in this video, I am going to be sharing the vision with Morgan to create some really cool 3D printable miniatures. But to do that right, I need help and expertise as well. Enter Dave from Tabletop Time.
I'm Dave from Tabletop Time, and I'm a bit of a consultant on this video. The first thing we need to make for any tabletop army or miniatures game is a basic troop. So we really need to build a solid foundation for what the aesthetic for these space bears is. We know they're going to be big space soldiers in powered suits of armor, but what does that look like when we translate it into space bear?
Let's get into it. So I had to gather a bunch of references, mostly 40K stuff, some other stuff that felt appropriate to be looking at, some Ojibwe references, and of course a lot of Space Bears material. I then made some small thumbnail sketches. I used these sketches to help me better understand the dimensions of the characters and how they move and how I could pose them naturally. So it was at this point that Jazza gave me a little bit of feedback. That was about the proportions of the character and the silhouette. So my style is quite wild and exaggerated, and that's one of the things that Jazza approached me about in the first place. But for these products in particular, we needed to rein that in and go for clarity and neatness. So after receiving that feedback and getting the okay on the rough sketches, I moved on to the line work and started to try and create a clear and concise representation of the character. So once the design got to a stage where it was clear and we had everything we needed, I then needed to take all those elements and pieces and organize them in a way that could be handed over and to be used as a clear reference for the sculptor. So you can see here in the final models, there are different tones between the armor, the wraps on the gun, and the fur. I did this to better aid the sculptor in distinguishing between the different forms that were interacting together. Last but not least, I laid out the illustration in a way that combined all the individual pieces into a single readable character, as well as separating all the individual elements so that they were clearly distinguishable.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare, which I'm very excited about. Let's just say you're an artist and you want to do more professional work or get to a certain standard. Skillshare is a great place with learning-focused resources where you can up your skills wherever you want to achieve what you need. But what's this? Mastering illustration, sketching, inking, and color. That's bloody me, isn't it? If you've ever been curious about Skillshare, because I'm sure you've heard of them, and if you haven't tried them, give them a go. They're really cool. I signed up to them many, many years ago to follow Patrick Brown's art tutorials. He's one of my favorite artists. And I've got 5 classes of my own that I've made over the years with Skillshare. I made them because I love sharing how to do the things that I'm passionate about. And the same goes for all these other brilliant courses on Skillshare. There's such a high bar of quality. You can find so much, and it's all there for you to check out now.
For example, check out the class by Ira Marks called Pitch and Sell Your Graphic Novel, a beginner's guide to getting published. I've been interested in doing something like this for a long, long time. And while I'm confident in the art side of things, I think the pitching process and trying to sell that as a product to people would be something I'd really love to have instructions on how to do that from someone who has experience. I would find that really, really helpful.
So go check out Skillshare, and the first 1,000 people to use our link in the description will get a month for free. So you can check out all of the classes we've talked about and any and all to your heart's desire.
So go check them out. The link's in the description, and thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring the video.
So this is where we have these sort of feedback sessions, and every week we have a product development meeting where Dave, Morgan, and I have a look at progress and we feedback on progress. And one of the reasons I'm really excited about this video is it gives us a chance. A lot of people have been saying in insert art videos they want to see artists dive deeper and make cooler things. And this is one of the ways we can really do that, because this is a project we're crafting.
Not that I don't love making Pokemon videos. They're
It's
great.
always going to be there.
But yeah, something like this where we can really just like sink our teeth.
So we sent this off. This is the final piece of our first model, and that's how I laid it out for clarity for the sculptor. And as a result, we have the fully constructed soldier on the left with his big gun, separate elements representing the big gun, a backpack, a head, and then on the right, just the body as it would be with it least constructed. So you can sort of see this is all one piece that, you know, you can swap elements around on, and we can then design different arm poses or whatever, different guns or heads. But this is the core foundation that we're starting off with, which leads us to the next task, something a bit more dynamic. So we've laid a really solid foundation. Now we need an action pose, and then after that, a big boy. Big
You
bear.
love a big boy.
Gives good bear hugs. They're terrifying. They crush you. You will die.
So Jazza did some really rough sketches that I then used to create a posed rendition of the whole figure. So these lines are actually visual references to help me match the proportions between the two drawings and to create consistency between the two references. I then moved away from the figure to begin to draw some of the accessories that this character uses, such as the bear claw and the gun. At this point, we're going to jump forwards in time because a certain someone who is a little bit inexperienced at this sort of thing may or may not have lost an entire day of footage. There were some changes I made while I was working that you won't see based on Jazza's feedback. But let's jump forward to me showing Dave and Jazza what I made at the end of the day. So,
Oh, that's so good.
Okay.
thank you.
I love it.
I love that knife. The knife is making me happy.
I think the only thing that's missing, I love that we're starting to incorporate a little bit more in nature with the feathers and the hilt of the blade. Even the shape of the blade actually referencing the Ojibwe knife is really cool. I think we just need a bit more patterning. I think
Yep.
we still have a Nerf gun, so we need to chop that off. And
Yep.
we were going to turn that into a revolver, so the gun needs a bit of attention.
Yep.
I think we just need a few patterns. That's a question mark I have. This chest, this shape in the chest
Yeah.
armor. It looks cool, but it doesn't do anything, and it's a
Yeah.
space we could do something with.
I just realized something foundational is missing here. It's the chain. The chain is iconically
yeah.
Space Bears.
Yes.
Okay, so your next step to make this fully final is we need the constructed version of this, same as we have with the other one. You don't have to redraw the backpack in full, you can just sort of allude to it because we've designed the backpack. But we do need to see what the hood / chain looks like on there. The other thing I need to see is another arm, because this is a weapon. I need one that looks like a smaller arm with a hand holding the knife. We need to see
cool.
we need to see that in context.
This is the next figure that we're going to be doing some work on. This figure is going to be a much larger, differently proportioned figure. So this figure is quite different from the other two in that they're much larger, bulkier, lumbering, tanky sort of figures, and I needed to be able to convey all that, but I needed to also be able to present Jazza with a few different options that he then could give notes on in order to guide me to the vision that he had in his head. The reason why I needed to provide a number of different options was because this kind of process requires the client to be able to see different options and make decisions between what is successful and what is unsuccessful. And this is the part where Jazza comes in with his feedback. Now, he sat down and drew over the top of my work with red and selected things in the sketches that I'd done that he liked. He then threw all those things together into a very rough drawing for me to use as a guide. A lot of the feedback Jazza gave me was to do with the proportions and the posture. It needed to convey the idea of a looming, lumbering bear, a powerful, monstrous figure. So after receiving that feedback and getting that scribble, I decided the best way to adhere to Jazza's very specific feedback was to use that sketch as a foundation. And I basically just duplicated it and painted over the top of it, because I was building on a foundation of what I knew he already wanted. Then it was just a matter of adding all the details that were specific to this character. A big, powerful, punchy claw fist, and a wicked double-barrel shotgun. Taking the final round of feedback, I pretty much finalized the running Space Bear Soldier and just made sure that everything we had was as clear as it could possibly be for the 3D modeler. Took all the overdrawings that Jazza did. I then moved back over to working on the big bulky boy. I had all those very useful scribbly notes Jazza took, and I simply implemented the changes that I knew he needed. After making all those final adjustments and changes, it was then time to get the boys back in here and show them their Space Bears. Insert feedback session.
Now we have the big beefy boy to look at.
Beefy boy.
So take us through. Oh!
Hey, that's cool.
Oh!
So this was interesting because working with and for an artist who draws little pictures and such, actually ended up being a very helpful thing to just use Jazz's rough sketches and draw over the top of those.
I'm glad that sped up the process. I really like this level. I think we need to dome the head a bit.
Yep.
I kind of like that it juts out at the cheeks. It feels bare cheeks.
I really like the
Yeah.
design, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think it's really good.
Even that already, that is a very minimal change that I think does quite a lot.
One thing that's really iconic and I love is they look sinister. They have these really sharp and narrow vision slits. I wonder if there's a way to make the bear look angrier.
And
Angrier
I
bear?
think, I think one of the ways to do that is lower the top ridge and expand the bottom.
Ooh, yeah, that's
bottom
looking
ridge.
evil.
So
Maybe
you
it's
do,
just red.
If you do
Red does
that
help. Also-
and then you expand under, that's pretty epic.
Yeah.
I like that. I reckon with a bit more subtlety than I've drawn, that to me looks really cool.
That's cool. What's missing is he doesn't have the hip armor.
So that already, I reckon you could sort of beltify it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, and this was something I alluded to before that didn't end up in here, but the bone necklaces.
That's interesting because maybe that could be a pattern as opposed to,
Yeah, as opposed to a literal like.
and that can go
bone-looking
on his
thing.
shoulders and.
And if it's bigger in the middle
on his
and then they get
gauntlet.
a little softer, well, I don't want it to be overwhelming. That to me already is like, ooh, that's pulling my eyes into here. It's tying it in with some of the more traditional elements.
Yeah.
These are the guys I'd look at that would make me be more enticed to the army.
Yeah. I don't want the fur around the legs to look like they're just lovely furry boots. I
Yeah.
want it to look like fur pelts wrapped around with string.
we want
So you're gonna want
wraps?
to break it up with think like a rope,
Okay.
a couple of feathers. I think that could be pretty cool as a mid-design feature. That would look fine on sort of both sides. Does that give you clarity?
Yes.
You got this. Can't wait to see where you go with it. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm leaving now.
I'm staying right here. Insert Dave and Jazza.
Hi.
So we have the big boy. We have front. We have bum. We have helmet. Claw. I kind of think this was probably the funnest one to work on because we sort of had to. We were going really fast and loose with the process and the feedback, and it all sort of like culminated into a really streamlined drawing process that allowed me to create something that looked great, but I could also make very quick changes to.
Yeah. My immediate takeaway from this whole process is he looks really cool.
Yeah, he does look really cool.
I like that we have basic foot soldier, which feels like we're just making a new version of a design that exists. This is a whole new design and it's sort of building on that and it's really cool. There's more elements introduced and we're doing more than just these two and it's a really solid start.
I'm very excited to see where this goes. You wouldn't have bears without drop bears, would you? A couple of bears from above.
And bears from below. Bear mounts, that is.
Oh,
actual
yes.
bears.
The bear
We've got
cavalry.
space bears, but we need actual
Actual
bears.
bears.
And maybe bears with guns.
I love that.
literal bears. So the space bears are the spacesuit people bears, but then there's actual bears with space guns,
Yeah, like Dino Riders, the greatest dinosaur TV show ever made.
but bears in space.
So this was really fun to work on, and if you want to see more of this stuff, just obviously subscribe. Let us know what you think.
And show that excitement by clicking like on this video.
The patrons are whom we are most grateful for. Thank you, patrons, for your kind love and support, and of course, Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you want to support more content like this, because honestly, we want to do bigger projects on Insert Art, becoming a patron is one of the ways to do that, and you get a bit for yourself.
Stuff like tutorials, community feedback. We do a community commission that everyone gets to contribute to.
All that fun and more. Go join us on Patreon.
Good, excellent work.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Very good, sir.
If you want to see more Space Bears, go check them out on Tabletop
Bloody
Time.
camaraderie.
Time.
Tabletop
Camaraderie
Time.
right here.
Tabletop time.
With Tabletop Tim.